Hi there, Karen here with Whiskey Sour. Waiting for the heat to come on today. Apparently in Los Angeles it's supposed to be 94, which then they always say 94 is like 106 downtown. Like it's always some ridiculous jump that they can't tell you exactly how hot it's going to be. So that's about enough for me. So done with the heat. I'm a four-season girl for sure. So that's what's going on over here. Not too exciting, really. I wrote a blog today called "Is Life Giving You the Kung Fu Kick?" And this is a phrase that my friend Thomas introduced me to. It's kind of like, la di da di da la la. Everything's going the way I think it should be going, and then all of a sudden you get slammed out of nowhere, completely blindsided. And he uses it in reference to when we think we have something all figured out and we really don't. So it's a kind of a kick that brings us back to reality, or at least back to present reality, or ever-changing reality. So life has dealt this up to me many, many times in my life. I could do a whole book on just the kung fu kicks I've received in my life that humbled me, taught me lessons, stopped me from doing things that were perhaps dangerous for me, or they stopped me in the middle of doing something super cool and fun and brought me to a reality check. Like, it's just, I've had so many of them. So I wrote this blog because something had happened today that kind of inspired it. You know, when you get in those really heated discussions about relationships, politics, religion, all the dangerous topics, and then all of a sudden something happens with a gale force wind and knocks you off your pedestal. So you could be just in a big heated fight where you're right and they're wrong or whatever, and you're talking about things that really doesn't matter in the big scheme of things, and then you're knocked back down to the ground. And it usually isn't a person that does it. It's usually something disastrous in reality that does it. And I basically go through life now with the attitude that I really don't know anything. I mean, I kind of get on camera and I talk about things I pseudo-know, or I pseudo-think, or I have opinions about, but for the most part, I've got to the point where I really don't think I know much of anything. And so these kinds of kicks I've soon found actually keep me safe. If you keep your humility about you and you establish that you really don't know anything, then when the mule kick kind of comes and gets you, you know, at least if you don't stand behind the donkey, then you're not going to get mule kicked. But it reminds me of a quote by William Faulkner that I wrote down. "A mule will labor for 10 years willingly and patiently for you, for the privilege of kicking you one time." And it kind of sometimes feels like that's what life does to us, is that it just, it waits patiently by the sideline just for that opportunity to hoof you. At least this is what we think. When really that's not the reality. The reality is that life happens, and it will go on happening despite where we are trying to control it. We're trying to control its direction, and it'll just keep going. So I really like that William Faulkner quote. So it's basically just about keeping your eyes wide open instead of settling into any kind of party, belief, religion. Anytime you go to a social function and people get in these really heated debates, it's like, if you keep your kind of wits about you and you keep your humility about you, and you become that observer of life, there's a good chance you're not going to have something kick you down and humiliate you, which is just really essentially is bringing you to a place of humility. But then there's those kung fu kicks, which happen because it needs to bring us to a reality check. And I think that a person's health, and something physically going wrong with our health might be the number one thing that brings us to a sense of reality. And probably disaster, whether it's a national disaster or a fire or a tornado or earthquake or whatever it is, or an attack or whatever. Any kind of disaster like that will also bring us to a reality check. And of course there's things long term we should be discussing about, all these issues, but as far as the moment, that's kind of what I want to discuss today, is just that moment of getting kicked by the mule, or the kung fu kick that Thomas was talking about. It's that particular moment that I want to discuss. It's crazy that our bodies are so loosely yet magnificently put together. I sometimes will lie in bed and just wonder what's happening on my insides, you know. Then I get all weirded out by whatever's under my skin, and I try not to give it any more thought. But today was another kung fu kick that happened because of a health thing, where I received an email from somebody, and it's a friend that I won't say his name if he wants to jump on and say who it is, and I'm sure a lot of you even know him as one of our friends on here, but his wife was taken by ambulance to the hospital yesterday, and just 55 years old, not very old at all. And she's now in ICU, and they had to induce a coma. She had had some bronchial problems that they think might be COPD, but her husband's pretty concerned, pretty worried, pretty scared, and it stopped. Stopped him dead in his tracks of everything that was happening in life. A good ambulance ride and hospital visit will do this kung fu kick to us as well. That no matter what's going on, and I'm not sure what was going on in his day, could have been a number of things, but that is a kung fu kick, and that's one of the biggest ones that we can be dealt in life, anything that has to do with our health. And she had no previous problems, so of course it's even more shocking, surprising, whatever word you want to give it, when it happens to us. The biggest lesson behind the delivery of this kick is that things like this interrupt our life in a split second. It's not things we're thinking about on a future, a big basis. They just happen right at that particular second. And you could be arguing, you could be working, you could be sleeping. It's a split second where you are just hurled into this new world of hospitals and waiting. And you're left in this conundrum, sitting in this hospital room, waiting beside your wife, who is in an induced coma, hooked up to a ventilator, waiting, And we just don't know which second of our day it's going to drop its bomb where our life could potentially change. And I think in this particular case too, an ambulance ride or a hospital visit or something, even though you might not put them on the same plane as a national disaster, when they happen to us personally, they feel as big as a tornado or a hurricane. Life is hard enough without added extra drama. We should be spending every day doing healthy things, fun things, loving things, not arguing about all these things that are just taking over the news, politics, religion, just simple relationship issues, drama, gossip, all these crazy things that seem to be taking our time. It's even just simple relationship stuff like cap off the toothpaste. Every single bit of our energy should be involving positive dialogue, happy creative work, play, anything that happens, so that in the event of a health problem or a weather disaster or anything that happens, we're focused, we're healthy, we're positive, and we're ready to deal with it. And I don't want to say that I was deliberating religion and politics when a friend had a heart attack. I don't want to be able to say that. I don't want to be able to say that when some of my family members or something bad happened to them. I don't want to say that I was arguing with them when something really bad happened. And I've been hit by death and health and all sorts of things in my family. And I always like to be able to say that something good and positive was going on and that I was in a good frame of mind when these things hit. I don't know at what point we are going to begin putting value on each and every second of our life instead of giving any moment. Our moments are so precious to negativity and mindless chatter. It's not the days, weeks, months, or years that matter. It's our moments. It's our every single waking moment that matters. And we should be very possessive of that. I think we should be more possessive of our moments and the things that we indulge in, the conversations we get involved with, the politics, the parties, the religious dialogue, all that stuff. We should be really super picky about where we spend our moments, because it's these kinds of kung fu kicks that just can just hurl us into a new dimension. And we can be arguing about the afterlife or scare each other into these things, or we can be cuddling with our children and reading them books. We can join all these political groups which just badmouth all day long, or we can be cranking up some music in our day. We can push back the furniture and dance silly with our family. We can fight with our spouse about taking out the garbage, or we can say, you know what, let's forget about the garbage and let's just go walk to the park and feed the birds. You know, just get back to that again. I feel so strongly about that. And I can tell you this much, I for one am not giving any more of my moments away to being argumentative. I'm not going to have mindless, argumentative, superficial discussions with people. I'm going to be working on my character. I'm going to be working on my art, on my music, on my friendships. You know, I really value the friendship I have with all of you out there. And I would really like to devote the time, the moments of the day to us helping each other, so that in the event of a crisis, and I mean a real crisis, when your wife has to be taken by ambulance to the hospital, that you're strong enough to be able to deal with it all, and perhaps learn what the value is of time well spent. Get back to that again. It's like working hard in our day, spending our time wisely, like really evaluating the friendships we have and the people we're hanging out with. And society is continuously pressuring us to be part of this superficial negativity, and you know what, we're free to choose how we spend our days. I can't say this enough, and I don't mean to come off sounding preachy or angry about it, but it is kind of frustrating that we have the freedom to choose how we spend every single one of our moments, and yet we're indulging in all these things that just don't matter when your wife is on the way to the hospital, you know, and she has to be put into an induced coma. Those are the things that matter, and those are the things we should be preparing our body and our spirit and our character for, because those are the real enemies out there, the things that just, you know, attack us. So, and I really believe that the world needs these angels and these light workers, the good people, the loving people, the compassionate, strong people who encourage time well spent with family, time with loved ones. And you know, that particular kung fu kick can happen, and you could be sitting beside the hospital bed waiting for your wife to wake up from her coma. Then all the fights, arguments, time spent on the wasted topics just mean nothing. They really just mean absolutely nothing in that moment. And I went through that with being at my mother's bedside. I really didn't care about the gossip I was hearing with nurses in the hall or anything else that was going on in the news. It was all focused on my energy and my character going in to being with my mom at that particular point. So my heart really goes out to our friend today with that. And I hate these kicks. You know what? They're so painful, but I really believe these are the real enemies that we have, that we need to be prepared for, not trying to pass laws that are constantly cross-canceling each other, but by preparing our character to be more loving and to be more strong and to be a friend again and to be a family member again and to be a good husband and to be a good wife and to be a loving boyfriend or to be a loving girlfriend and to be a loving parent, to be a loving child. Like, I think these are the things that we really got to be shooting for. And if we spend the time healing our spirits, the spirit will be able to cope. If the kung fu kick happens and it has to interrupt a series of kicks that are going on in your life where you are already getting these kicks hurled at you, there's not much chance of getting back up from it. There isn't. So I signed off today, and I'll blither on and on about this topic forever. I'm really passionate about just getting back with family and friends again and being more loving and more compassionate. But I signed off saying, trying hard to stormproof my home, and this is something I'm really big on, is the preparation of my character all has to do with how I can be best prepared for life and the things that are being hurled at me. And I want to be able to, instead of stopping storms from coming, stormproof my home so that when they come, I'm in a good place to be able to deal with it. So I thought of another quote. When I was thinking about that William Faulkner quote, I thought of another one from W.C. Fields, who's always super funny. He says, "Horse sense is the thing a horse has which keeps it from betting on people." Let's just leave that there. I just think it's so funny. But really go out there and take care of each other. Please, I encourage you to take care of each other. Your family means more than all this negative dialogue we are hearing in the news and media and gossip and chatter that's constantly going around us. There's nothing more important than your family and your friends. And if we can spend more time doing that, I think that we can prepare our spirits to be really strong for whatever comes our way, okay? So take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you guys again tomorrow, okay? Till next time, rock on. And from whiskey, rock on.